After an unforgettable day 1, where we witnessed not 1, not 2, but 5 tiger sightings, including 3 generations of Ranthambore royalty, Arrowhead, Riddhi and her cubs, we thought it couldn't possibly get any better. But day 2 had other plans. Even before we reached the Zone 4 gate, we spotted 3 more tigers. That takes our total to 8 tiger sightings in just 2 days. But what happened inside Zone 4? Was it just as wild? Let's find out. Today we are headed to Zone 4, and once again we had booked a canter safari. The vehicle was full with several other travelers joining us for the ride. Our guide for the day was Mr. Devraj Singh. This time we decided to sit on the left hand side of the canter, since yesterday we were on the right and we wanted to change the perspective a bit. We reached the main entry gate of the forest. There was a short briefing by our guide, followed by a brief wait, and then we were off, driving slowly towards the Zone 4 entry gate. But just before we could even enter our designated zone, something unexpected happened. We saw a group of spooked deer running across the track, clearly alarmed. That's when it happened. From the shadows of a rocky patch, a majestic tigress emerged, elegant, powerful, and absolutely breathtaking. It was Sultana, one of the most stunning tigresses of this zone. The way she walked out, graceful yet commanding, was something that instantly silenced everyone on the canter. Generally, Sultana's territory falls under Zone 1, but this time she had wandered out in search of water, and incredibly she had come all the way outside the official safari entry gates. We were more than delighted because technically our safari hadn't even begun and we already had our first tiger sighting of the day. Behind us, ahead of us, a line of canters and gypsies had come to a halt. Word had spread and everyone gathered silently, hoping to catch a glimpse. And there she was. Sultana walked gracefully towards a nearby water body and then slowly lowered herself into the water. She sat there, relaxed, cooling off, giving us a full wide view of her presence and putting on a spectacular show. Not even 2 to 3 minutes had passed when suddenly something caught our eye, a tail flicking behind the same rocky patch, and we were like, what the hell is happening? Moments later, emerging from the shadows came an even larger, more powerful figure. A huge male tiger, radiating strength and authority. One look at his broad frame, that distinct beard-like ruff, and we instantly knew it was a male. And not just any male, it was Badal, one of the most dominant and awe-inspiring tigers of this region. Badal walked straight towards Sultana and calmly sat down right beside her. Our guide smiled and told us that Badal and Sultana have been together for quite some time now, often seen roaming around as a pair. And honestly, what more could we ask for? 2 majestic tigers side by side right in front of us. But this wasn't the end of the story, not even close. After a while, Badal stood up and began pacing, slowly and restlessly, as if something had caught his attention. He wasn't aggressive, but there was a clear sense of unease in his movements. We were all wondering what's going on, what is he searching for? And then, out of nowhere, we caught sight of it. A flicker of golden-orange fur, streaked with deep black stripes, like nature's own camouflage masterpiece, emerging from behind a thick wall of bushes. It was another tiger, and from the way it stood, rigid, alert, we instantly knew something was about to unfold. To top it all off, we suddenly heard deep echoing roars from both directions. We were literally jumping in our seats, cameras ready, because it felt like we were about to witness a showdown. All signs pointed to it. It genuinely felt like we were in for a tiger fight. But this young tiger didn't quite carry the same confidence or authority as our massive muscular Badal. He seemed hesitant, a little unsure, and after a few moments of posturing, he sat down, almost as if backing off. But was he really backing down? Or was he just playing it cool, strategizing, or waiting for the right moment? We had no idea. And then, after a brief pause, he stood up again and began walking slowly, not aggressively but cautiously, toward Sultana and Badal. We saw that Sultana was also cheering in the background for Badal, or at least we hoped it was for Badal. But after all this high voltage drama unfolded right in front of our eyes, we finally got to know from our guide, who also was a bit confused at first, that this young male tiger was none other than Badal and Sultana's own cub. So all this time what we were actually witnesses was not a territorial clash, but a full-blown family drama. And that was our fair share of 3 tigers in one frame. We were more than happy because even before our safari had technically begun, we had already gotten our full paisa vasool. We spent almost an hour there, completely lost in the moment and didn't even realize that it was already 5 o'clock, and we finally decided to move on and enter the actual Zone 4 gate. The journey from the main entry gate to Zone 4 is a ride in itself. Long, rugged and absolutely scenic. As you move deeper into the jungle, the landscape begins to change dramatically. You start by passing through a dense cover of trees where the sun barely filters in. The road quickly turns rocky and uneven, with constant uphill climbs and sudden steep drops that'll have you holding onto your seat. On one side, you will see sharp rocky escarpments, and on the other, low-lying trees that sweep across the road. Some of them bend so low you have to duck or tilt your head to avoid being smacked in the face. The track narrows in multiple places, and the branches can often brush right against the canter, so it's important to keep your hands and arms inside at all times. Along the way, you will cross several man-made waterholes, calm, muddy little pools made for wildlife to hydrate in the dry months. You might even spot some deer or langurs hanging around these. There's a raw, untouched feel to the route. No loud vehicle sounds, just the creaking of wheels, rustling of leaves, and the occasional bird call. After what feels like an endless yet exhilarating ride, you finally approach Malik Talao, the tranquil lake that marks the start of the inner Zone 4 territory. The lake is located on the border of Zones 3 and 4 and is one of the few sizable water bodies in this rugged terrain. This area around Malik Talao is a perfect hunting ground for tigers. You've got wide, open grasslands, a steady water source, and plenty of tall bushes for the perfect ambush. But unfortunately, we weren't so lucky this time. No tigers in sight around the lake. Then again, we really couldn't complain. We had already seen not 1, not 2, but 3 tigers from where we just came. We decided not to spend much time at Malik Talao and moved ahead. As our guide suggested, we could revisit it later on our way back. As we continued deeper into the trail, we had a small but special sighting. A beautiful owl tucked so perfectly inside a narrow carved out hollow of a tree that spotting it felt nearly impossible. Only an experienced person who navigates this route regularly can notice it and point it out to us. We also came across a dead deer floating in one of the lakes and some wild boars. And finally, a designated resting area, a small clearing where safari vehicles are allowed to halt for a short loo break or to simply stretch your legs. This is the only place in the entire route where stepping out of your vehicle is permitted, so make the most of it. But remember, after 10 to 15 minutes, it's time to get back. After all, you haven't come all the way into the wild just for a break. From this point onward, you begin your return journey back inside Zone 4. The forest felt quieter this time. Apart from massive sambars casually grazing on any patch of open land they could find, there wasn't much activity. But something unexpected happened here. As we were crossing the same area where we had our first sighting, more than 2 hours had passed now, almost the end of the safari time, we saw that Badal, Sultana and their cub were still lying in the exact same spot, unmoved. We wished we could stay a little longer and witness more of this unexpected wild family, but we noticed that forest officials had now arrived on the scene. They were asking all vehicles to move on and not to halt in that area. We didn't understand what was happening at first, until we were stopped again near the zone gate and came to know that they were suspecting a tiger or tigress was wandering loose nearby, possibly on the lookout for a kill, a human kill. Just days before our arrival, the park had been shut down for 10 days, only reopening exactly the day before we arrived at Ranthambore, after a tragic incident where a tiger killed the priest of the Ganesh temple located inside the forest. And with that, we reached the end of our safari adventure. It was truly a mixed bag of emotions. We were absolutely thrilled to have sighted 8 tigers in just 2 days, which is more than what most people dream of. And this quick 2-day getaway turned into a memory for a lifetime. But if you ask me honestly about Zone 4, then I would say, had we not seen those 3 tigers right at the start, I wouldn't really be able to recommend Zone 4 wholeheartedly. Apart from the lucky encounter, there's not much else to see compared to the action-packed charm of Zone 3. Now if you haven't watched what we got to see yesterday, do check out that video too. You will see the full thrill of spotting 3 generations of tigers together. And if you are planning to come and experience the raw wilderness of Ranthambore for yourself, then don't miss our separate video where we have shared the complete guide to Ranthambore Safari. From how to book, where to stay, which zones are the best and the right time to visit. Everything you need to plan your perfect jungle trip.